Healthcare is free in Canada. High crime rates. I would say sometimes that Canada might enable their people to take drugs. So Canadians are generally warm people. I've felt less than because welcome back or welcome to Through Nicky's Lens. I am Nicky and I'm here with part 2 of my 2-part video about living in Canada or life in Canada. In part 1, I spoke on a lot of topics. Now let's get to another topic. I touched a little bit on networking in Canada in part 1 of the video, and you can watch part 1 of the video right here. Networking or socializing in Canada. I've come to realize that networking in Canada is one of the most important things to get to understand. Networking can be the game changer for you when you move to Canada. Can be the game changer for you when you realize how important it is. Networking is the key to getting a job. Networking is the key to finding a house to rent. Networking is the key to finding out the different places that you can go for deals, to find the best places to shop, as well as to find support and a community, to find that group of people that you can socialize with on a daily basis, to find that group of people that you can call friends, that you can find your community, that you can call your family. I'm still learning how to network and it's a working process. So eventually I'll get there. But one thing I know for sure, that it's something that you have to master if you're going to live in Canada and survive. As I mentioned in part 1 of the video, there are different things that people do in Canada to network. Networking events here is something that people rely on so that they can find the right group of people to help to push their career, to help them to find the various things that they believe they can achieve by having a good and a strong network. Networking helps with your socialization, as I mentioned before, so that you can find people that can be the support system that you need. Being in a country by yourself or just with your family, it can get hard and it can get challenging. But if it is that you have a group of people that are good and like-minded, that can make a world of a difference for you to adjust in a new country. There are a lot of things that we did not know when we got here. And we had a good support system when we transitioned to Canada. I came here by myself to start school because the applications for my family were not processed in time. So I relied heavily on a friend and her family that went above and beyond to ensure that I learned everything that I needed to learn, that I was equipped to go on my own eventually. They ensured that I got to the different places that I need to get my SIN, my social insurance number. They ensured that I got a phone plan, that I got a bank account opened, that I understood how to job hunt in Canada, to tailor the resume and not just to have one resume that you use to apply for every job. Tailoring your resume helps for you to get that perfect resume that can get you matched to say, okay, you have the necessary skills and qualifications as well as experiences, and that makes you a good fit for the role. This network that I became a part of helped to motivate me spiritually, helped to keep me grounded and keep me sane when I was away from my family for 6 whole months. So you can understand that networking and support is really important in Canada. This brings me to my next point of community and support, because both of them are related. So it is important for you to have a support system. A group of people, like-minded people, maybe people from your own country that are here with the same aim, with the same goal of becoming permanent residents and becoming citizens of Canada. When you have that support, you will learn the various tips, the various tricks, the various do's, the various don'ts. And to me, you end up making less mistakes than if it is that you were here by yourself and you didn't have people that have gone through the various experiences and can teach you certain things to help you to survive and to thrive in Canada. So, the nature of the people. Canadians are generally warm people, warm and friendly people. They are very polite. Sometimes you don't even know if they're really genuine or not. Friendly, they're very supportive. My experience when I was in Alberta with people that they see you on the street, they're saying hello. It was almost as if they're going out of their way to just say hi to you, to give you a smile. That reminded me of back in the day in Jamaica when persons were warm. You felt like you had family everywhere you go because people were always smiling, they were always saying hello. So I felt at home and I felt at peace, and I just felt like this was a place that I could definitely live with my family and thrive. I got a shock of my life though. When I moved from Alberta, I was there for 6 months and I moved to BC. So when I came to British Columbia, I felt like everyone in Canada was like that, but that is not so. So you will understand quickly who are Canadians, who might have been living here for many years, and they have eventually adopted to how Canadians are, to how warm they are, and so forth. And they are very accepting and inclusive. So when I came here, I was like, hello, good morning, and all about and bubbly, and people were not very receptive. It was almost like they were trying to stay away from you, you're on that side of the road, or you're walking on the same path and they move over, they give you so much space, you're wondering if there's something wrong with you, they don't want to be close to you. And I quickly learned that people like their own space. So that's something that you will realize. People are not touchy as some of us might be back home. They don't readily embrace. If you're going to embrace somebody, you might have to ask permission to. And this is actually good in my view because you don't just go and hug somebody, especially if you don't know them in that way, right? But people keep their boundaries here, and that's what I realized. To make a phone call to somebody, you have to ask permission to call them. That's my general understanding. That's what I've seen. You don't readily add somebody to WhatsApp here. If it is that you're close friends, you maybe can go to WhatsApp. People send text messages, and that's their main ways of communicating. If you're doing business, though, it's okay to call, but you can't just get somebody's number and just call them like that. You have to find a way to say, hey, I got your number. I don't know how you're going to reach out to them. I got your number. Is it okay for me to call you? Can I call you? Unless they invite you to call them without asking permission, don't do it. I don't know. I've learned the ins and outs and all of the reasons and all of these things, but I've realized that as a fact, right? There are many different people here. In Jamaica, out of many one people, we're a very diverse people, but coming here, I realized that Canada is way more diverse with a lot of different religions, a lot of different backgrounds, a lot of different practices. And you have to learn and appreciate and be inclusive and not be judgmental and just keep your eyes like you have blinders on. You see, but you don't see. And I guess I've been out of touch with the different trends in Jamaica, but like you drink your tea, you sip your tea, and mind your business. As I said, people are warm in general, but there are some that stay in your lane, stay with your race, just keep it limited to the people that are open to you, that accept you, that welcome you. So as I mentioned, there are different religions, there are different practices. Certain things that you might not find openly in your home country, you will find it here. Be inclusive, don't judge, don't stare too much. So the point that I wanted to highlight in this video is living in Canada, cost of living in Canada, or just general living in Canada. One of the things that, as I mentioned, the different videos that I saw on social media, persons telling people don't come to Canada if you are comfortable in your own country. Stay there if you're not dying, stay there because you might come here and you might end up in a worse situation than you were in. Some people will say that this is fact, others will say otherwise. I would say that I made a good decision. My family and I made a good decision to come here based on certain circumstances back home. Healthcare in Canada is free. Healthcare is free in Canada. Somebody pays for it. We all know that, right? International students pay for healthcare in Canada, while permanent residents and temporary workers don't pay for healthcare in Canada. So somebody pays for the healthcare that is free. So you will hear that Canada has one of the worst healthcare systems because of shortages of healthcare professionals and the like. Long wait times in hospitals, long wait times to get certain services. I have experienced long wait times in hospitals or in a hospital, well, in hospitals, but those situations were understandable. In my view, a lot of the things I'm very impressed with information sharing, with how Canada does things. I've had conversations with people before on just how impressed I am with how things are related. So you go to a doctor, they have access to your medical records. It's not just confined to one hospital, to one healthcare facility. Information is shared, information is connected, and certain things that you wouldn't realize connects, just know that they do, and they can tell when you called a particular institution what they told you and things like that. So when it comes to care, I think you might get a better care because your medical records are accessible wherever you go, based on my understanding. A family doctor in Canada is a thing. I've said that a lot of things are a thing, but they actually are. So a family doctor in Canada is a thing. If you have a family doctor, it's almost like you have gotten to where you want to get, right? Because to get a family doctor is one of the hardest things in Canada. People have been on lists for years, for months, and they still can't find one. So many people might not be aware of the various services, so they go to a hospital, they go to an urgent care facility, and they might end up waiting for hours. They might end up getting that express doctor visit, and you're hearing, oh, it's just one issue per visit, and if there's something else you have to make another appointment and come another day. And that's understandable. When there's a shortage, you can't spend too much time with one person, but I suspect that they try to give the best care that they can. There are options for you to call 911, very efficient as far as I have understood. I have had to call 911 once. I didn't know that this would have come up, but I did. Whew. I came here and I put on weight and I didn't wear my wedding band for a while. And to this day, I will never sleep in it again. So I didn't wear it for a while because I wasn't going out, and I don't believe in wearing your wedding band in the house, like doing household chores and whatever. So I wasn't wearing it, and I put my wedding band on one day. I saw it some in the drawer somewhere, and I put it on, and I miss wearing my ring. And I tell you that I fell asleep in the wedding band. And I got up in the middle of the night, and my finger was swollen and that ring could not come off. And I was panicked. I tried. I slipped something under the finger. I read up online what I can do to get it off. I iced it. I had my hand in the hair trying to get the swelling down, and nothing was working. So I called 911. And in no time, I say no time, they sent a fire truck. And they helped me. They did. It costed me a bunch to repair my rings, but They helped me. They saved me a trip from going to the hospital, and I was panicked because I was home with my son alone, and I had to leave him inside and go outside to the fire truck, the fire responders. They came and they cut my ring off. I know that if I was in Jamaica, I don't know, maybe I would have lost that finger. I'm not bashing. Don't get me wrong. I'm just talking about the efficiency, how easy they responded, and that costed nothing. So, to go back to my points, cost of healthcare is quite expensive. So, it's important for people to have private medical insurance. So, cost of healthcare is free in Canada. Certain services like x-rays, ultrasounds, MRIs, certain tests, blood tests, and so forth are free, or you don't pay for it if you need it at that time. Certain specialists you can go to, those things are free. The dermatologist, as long as you have that health benefit that the province offers, and each province have their own health benefit. So back in some years ago, I believe it was 2019, I could be wrong. Before that, people had to pay for healthcare in Canada, or in BC, but since then it has been free except for international students. Having private medical insurance, you get the other things covered, so like your prescription, physiotherapy, certain other things that the public health system doesn't cover. Your private health benefits cover that. Going to the dentist and some other things, those are covered by your private insurance. As I mentioned, there are certain services that can be used to combat the long wait times in hospitals or in urgent care facilities or walk-in clinics. Some of these services include using telehealth, using health facilities that's specific to your city. You may have a health center that you can book an appointment on the same day, and you can get to see a medical practitioner on that day. You can also utilize walk-in, and I'll put it above, walkin.ca. That is a service that is available in BC in some of the major cities. And it's a service where you can get a telephone call, a video call from a doctor. And if it is that whatever you discuss with them over the phone or via a video conferencing platform, if there is a need for you to be physically examined, then they will set an appointment and you go in physically and get examined. I've utilized that service many times and I've had no issues. They have partnerships with pharmacies where the doctor will send your prescription directly to whichever pharmacy you choose, and you get your prescription filled. You can pick it up, you can have them deliver it to your home, things like that. So although people might bash the healthcare system in Canada, there are various services that are available. And to use that walkin.ca, it's free. It's covered by your medical service plan, that's MSP, that is available in British Columbia. And you pay nothing except if you need prescription. So those are some of the things that can be used to combat the whole terrible healthcare system that they say Canada has. I have experienced healthcare in Canada, and I can tell you that I've had no issues when it comes to the care that the doctors actually give to you, except one time that I've had the personal experience where I was told, okay, one issue per visit. If there's anything else, you can come back. But the doctor eventually listened to what I was saying and provided the necessary information. And if there's a need for you to be recommended to a specialist, that is done. There are instances that you do have to wait for a long period, but you will eventually get the care that you need. My husband was able to get certain services done that he might not have easily gotten in Jamaica without paying thousands of dollars. So yes, there are certain challenges in Canada, I would say similar to many countries in the world. So if you choose to come to Canada, just know that everything might not be easy. Yes, it's a first world country, but things might not be as easy as you would want it to be. Things are not handed to you on a golden platter. You have to work hard for whatever it is that you want. You might have to work multiple jobs, and that is the reality these days because cost of living is so high, cost of living is expensive. To pay for the things that you need to live comfortably, you might have to do multiple jobs. How safe is Canada? Canada is a vast country, as I mentioned before. Different provinces, millions of people. From the last check that I made, it's 38.7 million people. So you can imagine that different things can happen, I guess, without, and I'm not blaming immigrants. So please don't take this the wrong way. But persons that are living here can attest to the fact that some of the provinces or some of the cities that have high crime rates, it might be because of drug use, high drug use, and I would say sometimes that Canada might enable their people to take drugs. So you might have people that are high on drugs that will commit certain crimes or commit certain acts. People that are racist have been in gangs in their home countries and they come here and they bring some of their practices and things like that here. So different things will happen. The country is so big, you might not hear about everything. You might hear of a one-off situation, a major thing here, a major thing there, but I can express that I have never had an issue where I felt unsafe being here. Comparing British Columbia or the Greater Vancouver area to Alberta, where I was in Alberta in Airdrie, really safe, really quiet and peaceful. I was in awe when I realized that people don't secure their personal belongings as much as they do when I was back home. So you will see a yard open, no gates, no nothing, and people have their kids' bikes, their toys, things, just anything, just left around, and nobody is going there to touch it. Farms with fences that are yay high, and nobody is going in to remove anything from the property without permission. Lumber just put down on the side of the road, no security, no fencing, nobody is touching it. I was in awe when I tell you that when I was in Alberta compared to some of the places in the Greater Vancouver area where, as I said, people might be on various substances, so they might be more prone to theft, they're stealing, they might be more prone or more violent or whatever. So when it comes to safety, you don't see people really stealing. You will hear of one-off cases or a few cases where people might break in, might rob a bank. People might do certain things that, oh, I didn't know these things would happen here. You might hear of a shooting or whatever, but it's not as widespread. Or maybe they're censoring in the media, but I honestly feel more safe here. You don't see windows with bars on them, doors are not grilled, windows are not grilled. You can almost walk about in your community or go anywhere at any time in the night and you feel safe. You don't feel as if anyone is going to harm you. There are some places, not saying that it's perfect, but there are some areas that you won't go into at particular times because you might get robbed, you might get stabbed, but bad things can happen to you in other countries as well. So in general, Canada is safe. One more point that I wanted to make, and it is the point of racism. Racism is a real thing. Racism is a serious thing. And I honestly didn't know that I was black until I came here. I knew I was black, I did, but I didn't know I was black, if you understand what I mean, until I actually came here. And it is a touchy topic in a sense for me because it's very uncomfortable where I've felt less than because of how somebody else is treating you. And from my experience, I've not experienced racism from a Canadian, a white person, or maybe a black Canadian, or other, well, let me not say other race, from a white Canadian. I have experienced where I'm in a bus, I'm in a train, public transportation, and people are like pulling away from you. They move over if you sit beside them. Some might go as far as to get up from beside you if you go and you sit. And I'm thinking I'm paying my fare just as you are. I'm paying for this transportation just like you are. I am not going to stand if there is an empty seat beside you. I'm going to sit as long as there's a seat. I've had people profile me. Being black in Canada, it's easier or more likely, and it might depend on where, but you're more likely to be profiled as a thief. I've had people follow me in a store. I've had people treat me a particular way when they're servicing me, and it's not a lot. And I must quickly highlight that my experiences, as I said, have been with fellow immigrants, or even if they're not immigrants, but people, well, even if they were born here, it's people of different races that are not native to Canada that you get those experiences from. I've, well, I hate taking public transportation, and I just want to quickly go on the bus, quickly go on the train, get where I'm going, get back home. My home is my safe space. I have nobody telling me or making me feel as if I'm not welcome. There's one experience that I had when I was on a bus, and it was not directed at me, but I felt some sort of way because I am black. And there was a gentleman, he was white. Maybe he was intoxicated, I'm not sure. But he was talking about black people and oh, why so many black people or so many immigrants coming into the country, and Canada is this and Canada is for these people and all these things. And I kept my head straight, kept my head straight, and I minded my own business. And somebody eventually spoke up to him and say, hey, you can't be disrespecting people like that. And he shut down because he realized that what he was doing was wrong and somebody was highlighting what he was doing, so he stopped. But I have been ignored by other immigrants. There's one race that have made me feel way less than a person, and I try not to dwell on that because I know who I am. I am Christ's child. I know that I am valuable. The same blood that runs in my veins is the same blood that runs in theirs. If I get struck down, I can die. If they get struck down, they can die. So they're not more than I am. I've made peace with the realities of life, and I've experienced racism before. I worked one summer in the US on a work and travel program, and I experienced the most severe racism that I've ever had in my life. At least that person was blatant. These people are subtle. That's it. I've never recalled. I've heard of people with experiences with people hurling racial slurs at them, but I've not experienced it myself. But I've heard like subtle things. I've seen subtle things. And as I said, it's the immigrants that treat you that way. They profile you or want to make you feel bad for being a different skin color. But what I appreciate is the fact that it's not the wider Canada. The government is inclusive. The government accepts everybody for who they are, because without, I'm saying this without apology, without immigrants, Canada would not be standing. Racism is real, and people will remind you that you're black, remind you that you don't belong here, because they might blame immigrants for a lot of things. And as I said, it's not a lot. They might think that black people might not belong here because black people might be beneath them, or whatever the case is, whatever the religious or classism reason or classist reason. But racism is real. So that's a sad reality. Um, People don't readily say hello to you in the greater Vancouver area. And you will know a Canadian, you will know a white person, even though you can't see it. A truly white person, and I'm not being racial or racist when I say white or black. I'm just highlighting the differences, right? You will know a white person on the streets, in your own apartment building. People will not say hello, and I've sadly adopted that, because I've said hello many times and it's gone unanswered. And the Christian in me would continue, or should continue, to say hello. But I've felt bad enough that I stopped saying hello in general. There are times when I would just say it because that's the person that I am, to go into a space and to say hi. But when I notice that it's a particular set of people, I will reserve my hello, because I know I won't get a response. And that has happened so many times. I've said hello and not gotten a response back. But you will know the Canadians when you are in a space. They will say hello to you. You go in and you say, "Good morning." You're going into an elevator with one person, two person, however many, and you say hi, and they will respond. While other races, they won't. It's almost like they don't even want to be in the same space with you, but they can't be very blatant because it's something that you can call out. I don't know if they can. I think they can get into trouble if they're very blatant, so they might not be, not all the time. But all that, all my points, and yeah, I need to get, not staying in that mood, but all of that to say that Canada has various opportunities for immigrants, for newcomers. People can come here and be comfortable. It might depend on the city that you're in or the province. You might not have certain encounters. So, in general, I think Canada is a good country, a great country to live in, a great place to raise your families. Keep your keep your principles, keep your morals, and instill those into your children. The ones that you had coming here, the ones that you might have when you get here, your family, the values, and all these things. And don't lose yourself. Don't compromise. Um, well, in some things you have to compromise, because you can't go around and be non-inclusive then. That won't be acceptable. Conform, do as the Romans do, as long as it's nothing against your moral beliefs or your Christianity or your Christian values or things like that. I don't subscribe to Halloween and anything, any practice that is against my religion, and how I was grown up, how I was grown to believe, and I will never, I will never. So just grow your children, just live as a good person, and you should be fine, right? So, on a lighter note, thank you so much for tuning in to part 2 of my video. If you found value in the information that I shared, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Leave a comment, leave a word of encouragement, leave some tips, leave some tricks for somebody, for me, and I will see you in my next video.